performers are here. Okay, let's get started. Good evening. I'm Amy Margulies. I'm your child's language arts teacher, and I'm pleased to announce our 8th grade poetry slam tonight. Let me give you a little precedence before they begin their presentations. They've worked so hard. The whole point of this was I asked them the question, what matters to you? And I'm telling your kids all the time that they are the ones who are going to be in charge of this world when we are in the assisted living house across the street, rocking in our rocking chairs. They have to know what's important, and they have to be able to express themselves. And so these are meant to be persuasive poetry slams. They're not going to rhyme, probably not the traditional poetry you're used to, but I hope you enjoy. First up, we have Joaquin and Zachary.
The climate's getting hotter and it ain't 'cause Harry Potter. Glaciers always coming down, but no one likes to show their frown. We try to speak and clamor, but the gov doesn't speak a stammer. Our home, our earth, will soon undo its birth. We burn, we splatter, we spit toxins like rainwater. We release fumes from cars, trap in heat like in bars. Ours, the home we were given, the place we were born, the home we love. Ours, the diverse Amazon, the sprawling Antarctics, the towering icebergs. Ours, the burning Amazon, the fragmented ice plains, the melting icebergs. The Heilongjiang fire, a fire that burned Asia for weeks, a fire caused by us. The Chernobyl incident, the worst nuclear accident in history, releasing the horrors of nuclear radiation into our world. Us, we are the ones that destroy and burn. We make the ground crumble and turn. We pump out toxins hoping for luck. We do it just for a quick buck. We can't just sit here watching destruction committed year by year. But what do? We look at the men in charge, but what do they do? They watch the world burn.
That was great. It's tough to be first, right? Okay, next we have Varsha, Neha, Kinsley, and Amy.
It's fine that a young girl, aged only 19, was catcalled, followed, assaulted, choked, raped. With dreams of being a doctor in her sights, she was meant to save thousands, but not one saved Ruth George. It's fine, doesn't matter that I can't go to a sleepover if an older guy is around.
Doesn't matter that I can't go for a run after 4 p.m.
Doesn't matter
That I can't wear something that might be deemed
revealing.
Doesn't matter
That I can't hang out with my guy friend if we're alone. For the fear of being followed, assaulted, raped. It's fine
that in 1944, while 24-year-old mother Reese Taylor was on her walk home from church, a mysterious truck pulled up alongside the road.
She was shoved in the back, surrounded by 6 men, all armed with knives.
They threatened to cut her throat if she cried out. She was tormented,
Tortured, assaulted, raped.
On the side of a road she was left, blindfolded and barren, in more ways than one.
No arrests were made, and the case still remains untouched. It's fine
That in November of 2019, a college student, Ruth George, an honors student aspiring to become a physical therapist,
was walking past a subway stop when a man followed her to a parking garage.
She didn't respond to his catcalls, so he strangled,
assaulted, choked, and raped her
in the back seat of her own car. A man felt so rejected by this young woman, he raped her, almost as if he was entitled to her body. But
it's fine that these women with futures rich in achievement were tortured, raped, and killed. Their stories left, eternally unfinished and becoming redundant. If 50 men call one woman a whore, it's believed. But if 50 women call one man a rapist, it's found questionable.
These victims were enslaved by fear, crushed under the pressure of staying silent.
Too afraid to step into the spotlight. Must this fear stay forever, always lingering?
Even if their names trend for justice on Twitter, it doesn't change that these victims were treated namelessly.
Left, drowning in an ocean of empty promises.
When will these empty words fulfill their meanings?
Yet time and time again, stories of rape,
assault,
and torture
fill the news headlines.
How much longer can we continue on like this?
How much longer until action is taken?
How much longer can we survive?
Our voices are hidden amongst the crowd, swept away by bigger or more pressing issues in society.
We try to ignore it, try to pretend it's not there, but every second we wasted ignorance. We waste a life, a future, an opportunity for greatness.
But of course,
It's time.
Wow. Okay, next we have Ben, Iman, and Samia.
We're not on the list. Oh, okay.
Dad, there's something going on at school.
What do you mean?
There's a man with a gun standing outside our class door.
Jamal, what's happening?
Boom. The next thing you know, your child gets shot. For a second they're here, the next they're not. Anyone can walk into a store and buy a gun, but they don't know that the bullet can soon end up in the head of their son. Sir, this is Jefferson County Police Department.
Yes, officer.
I'm sorry to inform you that your son was shot and killed in the shooting earlier at Columbine High School.
Oh. Boom.
It only takes one to put millions in distress. Are they alive or not? It leaves you to guess. It only takes one to leave entire families crushed. What happens to these people is completely unjust. Officer, we're on lockdown. There's a man coming. I'm scared.
What do you mean? Tell me more about the situation.
It's a class full of first graders. They're hiding. No!
Ma'am?
Boom. They could never expect the horrors to come. A class full of children only in grade 1. All of their future stripped away, all from a man who went astray.
Columbine.
Parkland.
Sandy Hook.
Do these young people deserve to die? Do they deserve to get their lives stripped away from them?
Do these families deserve to have to send their kids away not knowing if their precious child will return?
It's time to stop.
Stop the killing.
Stop the suffering.
Stop the boom.
And now Nikhil, Akash, Christopher, and Kason.
Racism is just a word that made a kid cry. Sit alone at lunch. Walk home alone.
All that suffering just because of the color of their skin.
Racism is a feeling, an instinct to keep away from certain people.
Just because they look a little different, even though they have no control over where they're born or what they look like.
Is this a society you want to live in? A judgmental and hateful place where people fear being themselves?
Racism is
When someone yells,
go back to your home country.
It makes you think, was I really born in the United States, land of the free?
Mackenzie Adams was a 9-year-old girl, like any other kid, a normal African-American student.
But the way she looked made her a target.
All the other kids said hateful things to her.
Day after day, they would yell things like, kill yourself, or you don't belong here.
Finally, on December 3rd, 2018, Mackenzie Adams, an innocent child, decided to hang herself.
Racism is people's nightmares turned into reality, just like what happened to
Danny Chen, a 19-year-old Chinese-American private in the American Army.
Who dreamed of being in the Army ever since he was young.
But soon after he joined, his dream turned into a nightmare as he was abused physically and verbally by his sergeant and peers.
Eventually, when he decided that he could take no more of this, he shot himself.
Danny's surgeon, Adam Holcomb, was put on trial but found not guilty.
America decided that this was a suicide, but it was really a murder. So let's change.
Let's change the way we look at people.
Let's change the way we treat certain people.
Let's stop attacking people just because of the way they look.
Let's stop assaulting people with racial comments and slurs.
As the great Martin Luther King Jr. once said,
I have a dream that my 4 children will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
Rashika and Amrita.
put me in there.
You and I are the same.
No from Vogue to women. Skeletons are the new gorgeous.
You'll never be pretty unless you're only skin and bone.
Also, have fun picking through a selection of weight loss treatments because you know you're fat.
So don't wait.
They're on sale starting now. No from women to Vogue. Actually, confidence is the new gorgeous.
All of our lives we were told to meet the standards of the girl in your magazine.
We don't want to sit around while people just criticize. We don't like being called fat.
We love ourselves for who we are,
No matter how big we are. No from beauty to social media. Don't let me get started on you.
Do you know how much it hurts to see a girl snap hundreds of photos before she finds what she thinks is worthy enough to post?
No, I don't think you do. I'm so tired of Instagram and Snapchat. I would be lying if I said I was okay with this. Enough with these selfies. Hashtag don't tell me you're proud of this. Note from social media to beauty. I'm sorry, we didn't think any negativity would take place.
Just be happy it's not worse.
But from these trials and tribulations, there comes good.
It's not all bad,
I know it's brought you trouble,
but
it's not all bad. Note from Quasimodo to beauty. All my life you told me that this world is a dark and cruel place, but all I see dark and cruel about is people like you.
The fact that you judge me based on what you see is insulting. I have worked long and hard for you, but some things just aren't meant to be.
So let me be. Let me be who I am.
No.
Note from Helen Color to beauty. Hi Helen, all your life you were stripped away from the sense of sight and hearing.
But you have walked through this world in the most stunning way.
You were never exposed to beauty, but you sense internal beauty from what you were given.
I know living in this world wasn't easy for you.
But you've shown through this world in the most beautiful way.
Why can't more people see me like you do?
Note from us to beauty. Listen, beauty, we know things have been getting difficult,
But we're just ordinary 8th graders. Let us ask you something. Back in the 20s, 40s, or even 60s,
did you have absolutely any problems? And if you said no, we can tell that you're lying. Everything will be okay. We promise.
Wonderful. Now we have Gavin, Arjun, Ashish, and Aiden.
On January 4, 2016, David Moloch committed suicide.
He was found dead in his backyard after being insulted and bullied.
He was a person just like you and me, like any other kid.
Suicidal thoughts ran through him until he couldn't handle it anymore.
He was on the track to success. He had his whole entire life still ahead of him.
He died.
Everyone knows why.
Because of bullying!
We all have our stories.
Getting called names.
Being left out of sports.
Being made fun of from my culture.
Being bullied because of my interest.
We could have all experienced what David felt. We could have all met the same fate. And it's all because of bullying!
Bullying creeps in, little by little, until you can only say,
I'm not good enough.
I'm pathetic.
I don't want to do this anymore. I shouldn't be alive. It's all because of bullying.
The sad thing is, they didn't have to go through all of this.
Everyone who saw these atrocities happen before them had the chance.
The chance to be there for them.
The chance to ease their suffering.
The chance to end bullying before they end themselves.
What we need to do is to stand up and not stand still.
Take things into our own hands and truly make a difference.
Quit being idle and be their idol.
We can't push bullying out of our lives like how we push out its victims.
Is this what you want? A world where life feels like a prison, trapped and tormented but never able to leave?
A world where you are afraid to be yourself.
A world where no matter how loud you scream or shout, no one can hear you?
A world with furrowed brows and tight fists, slammed doors and panic attacks, scars on wrists and rope burned necks.
This has already become the harsh and cold reality for millions of kids around the globe, and it's time that it stopped.
Until that happens, millions of kids around the globe will continue to lose themselves in their own sea of hopelessness and doubt.
Until that happens, more and more victims will continue to suffer, become just like David.
Until that happens, the world will continue to feel like a prison for the victims of bullying.
But
Because of us!
We can prevent all these terrible things from happening.
Because of us!
We can rise above the vital title of the bystander and reach out to those who already lost hope.
Because of us, we can make the difference. Because of us.
I don't know if y'all are as impressed as I am, but wow, your kids are great. Okay, next is Jack and Abe.
Before we start, I want to say that we have like some pauses, so please all applaud like right when we like stop talking. The wind of greed blows hard, blowing out the last candle of hope for the poor. Hunger for money entwined in the hearts and souls of the greedy. And the wind keeps blowing. The helpless, dying families stay cold, thirsty, and hungry, while the rich and powerful become angry that they don't have enough. And the wind keeps blowing. Selling drugs to innocent children, taking hostage the lives of the young. And the wind keeps blowing. The greed of the government is the only thing that keeps me from seeing some of my family members in India. Both my grandparents given death threats over money. And the wind keeps blowing. The greed and greed drives people to violence. Politicians around the world controlled by a blind addiction. And the wind keeps blowing. The roaring winds bring with it all traces of goodwill. The earth contaminated with an infection of money. And the wind keeps blowing. Whirling into a hurricane of evil. Wickedly powered by a dark, dark force. And the wind keeps blowing. Blowing into a typhoon of mass destruction. The world around us, oozing out evil in every crack it finds. If it wasn't for greed, the life expectancy in Africa wouldn't be so low. There would be no such thing as a monarchy. Sidney Rezo. Jose and Mary Mendendez. All people who are innocently killed in acts of pure selfishness. One single candle remains. One hope. Hope that our world can unite to deal this tragedy. The tragedy of greed. One kind deed makes a difference. We can harness the wind with kindness and compassion. So maybe one day the wind will stop blowing.
Next is Elaine and Andy.
For years, homosexuality was illegal.
It was a sickness, a disease,
A disorder. In 1969, LGBT people at the Stonewall Inn rioted when police stormed the building.
arresting people left and right.
We were arrested for being ourselves in a society that hated us. When we say, "Oh, I think I might be gay," you say,
You can't be sure. You're too young to know. You just haven't found the right one.
"You are not valid." When we say, "I'm transgender," you say,
You're just confused. You don't know what it means. You just want to be cool.
"You are not valid."
According to you,
We don't know what the terms we struggled so hard to find mean.
according to you,
We're too young to know we're gay, but not too young to know we're straight.
according to you,
We're just doing this for attention, even though that's the last thing we want.
according to you,
We are not valid. You teach us that loving who we want is wrong.
you teach us that love is wrong.
You teach us to hide who we are,
To be scared,
to be hidden.
to fake it.
You teach us that we are not valid. You tell us our feelings are a sin and that they should be punished.
You tell us it's just a phase and that we'll get over it.
You tell us we need to change and ship us off to conversion camps.
You tell us that
We are not valid,
we're human beings.
just like you. We have emotions,
Just
like you. We are valid, just like you. At least, that's the way it should be. We're here, and we won't change for you. We are valid.
We are here to make the world a better place. We are valid.
We are perfect the way we are. We are valid.
Okay, next we have Katie and Pollock.
Adam Lanza, a name irrelevant in your lives, but one that holds bitter meaning to the families of 27 people whose lives were taken without reason.
A boy so tortured that he shot 20 innocent children.
At Sandhurst Elementary School.
Adam Lanza was so mentally broken that he shot 4 bullets in his own mother's head and ended his life in the same manner. Why? These children, so pure and kind, had happy lives.
They had dreams and aspirations about their futures.
Doctors, authors, musicians, they were going to change our world. But all that was ripped from them because of a psychotic man who had easy access to a weapon that was capable of slaughter. Why?
Why is our world like this?
How long can we live like this?
Will this ever change?
Will this ever end?
Is there a magic fix?
Jyoti Singh, a young girl in her 20s, boarded a bus with her best friend after watching a movie at a theater in South Delhi.
There were 5 other men on that bus that night, drunk.
She ignored them, lost in her thoughts about the movie. But what she didn't know was that those men were about to turn her life around.
Suddenly, the bus took a turn onto an unknown route.
It was now that Jyoti realized something was wrong.
The bus stopped.
The lights turned off.
Her friend jumped up in fright.
But the men caught him, beat him up, and threw him off of the bus.
Josie cried out. She didn't know what to do.
She tried to run, but they caught her. She was beaten until she was black and blue.
Abused until only 5% of her organs remained.
Tormented until she was of no choice but death. And then she was raped. Why?
Why? She used to live in her world of dreams, but it all turned to pain and screams.
She was going to be a doctor.
She was going to save hundreds of lives.
She saved none. She couldn't even help one person because she is now dead.
Dead because of 6 drunk men on that bus that night.
Dead because the metal got forced into her that absolutely destroyed her body. Dead because the metal. Dead because the men. Dead.
Why? What happened?
Nothing.
Jyoti died.
All else lived. She died a fighter.
Renamed Nirkaya.
She was brave.
Strong.
Fearless. But what difference does it make?
Who's listening?
Who cares? We do. Only a couple of months ago, we received a school shooting threat.
We were put in a state of terror.
Many were forced to ignore their education to save their lives. This is not okay. Girls are told not to go outside after sunset. Told not to hang out with a boy alone.
Told to watch their backs.
Because they could be the next victim of rape. And instead of teaching boys respect,
girls are told not to wear clothes that are exposing.
What's wrong with our world? When will this change? When we are the change. What is wrong with our world?
Will this ever change?
Will this ever end? Is there a magic fix?
Yes. Okay. Okay, next we have Catherine, Ami, and Lucy.
Jackie Young, a Westwood girl, was at her desk. 25 tabs open on her computer.
7 empty cups of coffee on her desk, strewn with paper.
Her college application scribbled with notes and colors.
Everything organized perfectly.
Awards and trophies scattered around the room.
NHS president.
DECA treasurer. HOSA vice president.
MTV Piano National first place recipient.
Second place International Science Fair award. It sounds amazing, right?
Glamour.
A dream come true. Wouldn't you want to be her?
Even for a day.
An hour? A second?
It's not
What it seems to be. Did you ever stop and think about what she had to go through to get where she is today? The years of hard work.
The pain of smiling through it all. The oceans of tears.
The hours she spent gazing out of the window, daydreaming of the normal life she could have had.
It's not what it seems to be.
Wake up, Jackie! Hurry up and get ready.
Ugh, work, sleep, repeat. Work, sleep, repeat. Lack of sleep, sluggish brain, sluggish school, sluggish life, sluggish societal expectations, sluggish me.
It's not what it seems to be. 87% of high schoolers don't even get 8 hours of sleep. This leads to inattentiveness in class, which leads to failing grades, anxiety, depression, and suicidal thoughts.
Is this really what society wants for the future generations?
It's not what it seems to be.
Just a little. Won't take too long. That's what you think. Everyone thinks you can handle it. The dreaded question. Do you want to hang out after school? In my head, I think, not enough time. I'm like Xenon, racing everywhere. Vetus will Vetus.
It's not what it seems to be. It's a Thursday for Jackie. Calculus test, English essay, physics review, ballet performance, math class, volunteer hours, GPA check, homework, repeat. No fun, no friends, no life. Not what it seems to be.
Over 50% of high schoolers feel stressed, and they see two options. 18% of high schoolers think about suicide, while 17% turn to drugs.
Is this society's standard? It's not what it seems to be. It may seem like there's a lot to change,
But it's absolutely necessary.
to save our future generations.
Before we're too late.
Will you really stand by as our future generations slowly crumble and fall to its demise? Shouldn't we be doing something for our own flesh and blood? Do you see it now?
Do you see it now?
Do you see it now?
It's not what it seems to be.
Okay, next is Amy and Manya.
How can you be so blind? Letting people be treated like they're subhuman. Letting minorities believe they deserve to be regarded as nothing. Making judgments based on appearance, sexuality, and beliefs. Not bothering to look a bit closer. Open your eyes. You walk down the street and see a woman being harassed. You can tell she feels uncomfortable. You can tell she feels uneasy. Yet you do nothing. You lower your head and keep walking, and you pray that never happens to you. Open your eyes. You see an online peace march on the streets, but people still act rashly upon them. Why? Like the cruel school children, crowding around a helpless worm, dissecting it, stripping it, until it lay bare and bleeding. Open your eyes. Is that a man wearing makeup I see? Why, yes. He must be a gay, you say? Yes, a gay. A living opposition to the Savior. You stare away from his path. As you glance behind your shoulder, you can see him being denied entry to a popular restaurant. Open your eyes. In 1976, Williams versus Saxby, the first harassment case to establish sex discrimination. 1930, the Nonviolent Salt March led by Gandhi, where hundreds of people were injured, beaten, and killed. 1952, when homosexuality was listed as a sociopathic personality disturbance. Open your eyes. These wounds with weapons, wounds with words. We as individuals have rights. The right to feel safe in our homes and environment. The right to be yourselves without feeling judged. We are not subhuman. We do not deserve to be regarded like nothing. Open your eyes. Without acceptance, this voice will never be heard. This dream will never come true. This goal will never be reached. And this idea will never be shared. We will never be understood. Open your eyes.
Najia and Yuan.
A young woman, a young gay man, and a young black man walk into a bar. The stand-up comedian tells a classic offensive joke about minorities. All three of them boo and call him out. He says,
"You snowflakes, you're ruining comedy. Everyone's so sensitive nowadays. Everything is so offensive and triggering. No one can take a joke."
Why is it that I'm not allowed to be uncomfortable when you ask if I dog? I don't, by the way.
Why am I not allowed to be upset when you ask if I own a gun or a bomb? I don't either.
Why are we not allowed to be offended when you ask what our cuff sizes are? Why is it that when you stab us with insults, masked as jokes, we're not allowed to bleed?
Let's listen to some of these other hilarious knee-slapping jokes, shall we?
A woman is walking down the street and a man is flirting with her. She plays hard to get and tells him to F off.
Dang, these women, what's flaunting it? They really have no respect for themselves nowadays, huh?
A gay man just came out to some of his friends, and some are disgusted, and he is upset.
Why is he upset? Gay people should just expect to be treated differently.
A black man forgets his keys to the townhouse he is staying in. He loops to the rear end, hoping to get in.
Black people are so dumb. How could you forget something as basic as your keys?
We're not hysterical social justice warriors for being upset at these jokes.
If someone cries wolf, it doesn't mean the wolf isn't there. Now,
let's listen to the rest of these jokes.
The woman is followed by the man to her car. She is strangled, raped, and left unkilled.
Who's laughing now? The gay man is attacked by a group of 4 while walking in the park. He is beat, tortured, and left to die. Who's laughing now?
The black man who tried to get into his own house is shot by the neighborhood watch guy without even getting to explain himself.
Who's laughing now? If you have to rely on misogyny,
homophobia,
racism
for jokes,
you're not funny.
We're not
delicate. We're not emotional. We're not special
snowflakes that have to be sheltered and pampered.
We're human beings who know better than to make a joke out of someone else's pain.
Okay, big group next. Akshay, Sushant, Nathan, and Nicholas.
A 15-year-old male sits in his room tying a noose,
Ending the depression.
The suffering and the slow.
Yet painful destruction of their world.
Why do we stand by and watch as suicide breaks into people's lives?
Why do we let humanity tear itself down?
Why is a young child able to imagine a world without themselves in it?
Why
Do we let society share ways to commit suicide?
Who would do such a thing?
What humane act lead to this type of destruction in someone's life?
Where do these heartbreaking acts gain power from?
Where do we draw the line for what is acceptable in today's society?
Why do we stand by and watch the destruction of millions of innocent lives? You are not good enough.
Why are you so ugly?
You are worthless.
The world is better off without you.
Go die! These voices inside our heads making us wish that we were dead.
From the living room to the streets, there's nowhere we can go.
As your life goes on, just knowing you did something wrong.
Lost and never to be found.
From young to old.
The story never changes.
A kid and adult bully relentlessly.
Confined to a small, enclosed world.
They aren't safe. They
Are free.
They
can be who they want to be.
enclosed in silence.
unable to rip off the bondage that society has put on them.
Feeling death is the only escape.
If only there was a way out.
To
Tear away from the shackles that society has put on them. Suicide is the second leading cause of death in ages 15 to 24.
You are worth it. 1 in 100,000 children ages 10 to 14 commit suicide each year.
You are worth it.
LGBTQ are 3 times more likely to commit suicide.
You are worth it.
Suicide affects all ages, from young to old.
You are worth it. There's nowhere to go in your time of need.
No corner you can go to.
No shadow to disguise you.
You are vulnerable, yet need the help of another person.
Nowhere to hide from your emotions.
Nowhere to hide from the bully at school.
Nowhere to hide from abusive parents.
You have your whole life ahead of you, so don't hide it. Get help.
A 15-year-old male sits in his room tying a noose.
Ending the depression.
The suffering and the slow.
Yet painful destruction of their world.
He goes downstairs.
One last
To see his family.
To remember his memories.
Because the news.
Next, we have Ella and Miranda. Here you are.
Are they still doing them? Oh, right. We're gonna have the solos at the end.
Oh,
Okay. I'm sorry.
Every week I see another shooting, another day, another dead. See the blood of kids like me splattered on the floor of another classroom. It could have been us.
A loud bell rings out and we flinch, afraid our time is up.
I mutter to myself, it's just a drill.
It's just a drill. Every week I see another shooting.
A high school.
A university.
A grocery store.
We're afraid to leave the house.
Could this be my last day? It could be us.
A 6-year-old boy hides by his desk with his classmates.
The sound of gunshots ringing out fills the classroom.
Then a man walks into the room and shoots his teacher.
He yells out, "Run!" saving 6 kids before falling to the ground dead. His name was Jesse Lewis.
He would be 13 now.
That could have been us.
So often I see a new news article about the violence in our nation.
Students describe deadly school shooting.
13-year-old arrested for allegedly threatening a school shooting.
School shooting in Santa Clarita, California.
10 years, 180 school shootings, 356 victims.
Why is this so normal? It could have been us. A 14-year-old girl hides under a desk with her friend.
Gunshots ring out all around them.
She thinks of her soccer game the night before and her future with the friends around her. That future never happened because of a bullet. Her name was Alyssa Al-Hadef.
She would be 16 now.
That could have been us.
We fear for our lives.
But all you do is talk.
We just argue about the Second Amendment.
Aren't our lives more important than your AR-15? The sacrifices we make for the sake of what? A weapon?
Is there a point to all this bloodshed and death?
A 14-year-old girl sits at her desk and listens to the sound of gunshots in the hallway.
A memory flashes before her eyes of going to the shooting range with her father.
Then a bullet from her favorite type of gun ends her life. Her name was Elena Petty.
She would be 16 now.
That could have been us. We see all this violence, yet it never seems to end.
Sandy Hook,
Columbine,
Parkland,
UT,
so many dead.
So many gone. It could have been us.
Okay. That was Ellen Miranda. Next is Iris, Yaya, and Bailey.
Everyone wants to be loved, but everybody told her love costs beauty. So that meant every pound, every calorie, every sweet, every bite made her more and more of a disappointment. They told her beauty was pain. They told her beauty was earned. They told her beauty was shown by the numbers on the scale. But what they never told her was that love is beauty, that life is beauty.
She's not fine. He just wanted them to be proud, but society told him he was never enough. No matter how hard he tried, they told him he failed. His family left him sure, but when the voices outside become the voices in your head, no one can ever really feel loved. The pain was so intense that in the end he'd do anything just to get rid of it. But what they didn't tell him was that he was enough, and that what mattered most was his life.
He's not fine. She opened her mouth, but she was afraid. They told her to speak up, but then told her to shut up. So she stayed by herself, alone in the silence. Quiet was her comfort. Quiet was her home. Quiet was like the friend she never really had. What they never told her was she deserved to be heard. She deserved to live. She's not fine.
Throughout it all, they tell you to
Speak up.
But when you try it, all they hear is,
I'm fine.
even when you're not.
It certainly doesn't help when everyone thinks you're exaggerating, because the pain can't be that bad, because your life is so easy, because certainly they had it worse. So we all must be fine. We're all fine, right? But the thing is, we're not.
We are not fine. I'm not fine living in a world where 59% of people admit to suffering from mental illness.
I'm not fine where 47,000 Americans committed suicide in 2017 alone because they were told that they were worthless.
I am not fine where 30 million people have an eating disorder because they were told that beauty means being skinny.
I am not fine with a world where 1 in 140 young children have selective mutism, an extreme form of anxiety because they were told their words don't matter.
I'm not fine with this all being
dismissed,
ignored,
neglected, because people are selfish and they couldn't care less. So don't be that person.
Listen to your children,
your students,
your friends,
anyone.
Tell them that they will be fine.
Because they are not alone.
And they will get through this.
Because they are not alone. And together,
We can battle mental illness
to make it fine.
so that we are fine. We're actually fine.
And next we have Elliot and Patrick. Patrick.
Multiple people protest this problem, but even our president hasn't tried to help it. But this one man had the worst constitutional punishment of them all.
An extravagant person tries to make a difference. His career began to worsen just because he stood up for his opinion. I know my rights.
Kaepernick, he wasn't a sheep.
Bah.
He stood up for what he believed in, but he was booted for his policy.
I know my rights. He was trying to protest a racial inequality, protesting police who thought they knew best, but he got booted for his policy. I know my rights.
So he brought the NFL to court, and the judges ruled
what the NFL did was unconstitutional and violates the First Amendment. I know my rights.
So Kaepernick wasn't completely out of money. He laid down the law and found a way of survival, but he still was out of work and had minimal things to try.
I know my rights. African Americans dying in the streets, minorities being treated worse than white folk. So during the anthem, Kaepernick retreats, and Trump in his loony mind thought that he should be declined. He was only trying to stand up for racial inequality in this earth that has plagued millions in our country alone.
So today, Kaepernick still doesn't have his job back. He wears the message, I know my rights, proudly, fights for what he believes in, stands tall and doesn't fall into the crowd.
And 3 years later, he still is out of work. He stays persistent and continues his workouts. Finally, now some scouts are looking his way, but think, should it have to be this way?
Next is Shreya, Kira, and Monica.
Why can't we
receive equal pay,
fulfill the same jobs,
Be independent.
be equal?
Ellie said that her female colleagues had college degrees and worked at a research lab in the late 1970s. They soon found out that they had earned 1.5 times less than a male colleague with no degree and less responsibility. Women across the world are faced with the inequality we are assumed to deserve.
Why can't we be treated equally and not be restricted from job choices that aren't considered feminine?
Assumed to be unfit for the job at hand.
Assumed to be weak or unable.
Told that the work we want to achieve is too hard, too rough for our small, fragile hands. Susan Mendes was once told that her dream as an engineer was
Not suitable for a lady.
that she was better off becoming a secretary, hopefully marrying someone in office. Who are you to assume the only way for us to gain respect is to marry someone with status?
Why can't we walk alone at night and not have to worry about getting kidnapped or worse? Why do we have to walk in groups and watch our backs because of men who see us as less than them, as someone they can take advantage of, as someone they are entitled to? We shouldn't have to protect ourselves from men. We shouldn't be treated differently for something we can't control.
1/3 of the girls around the world are married off before the age of 18. Little girls are being thrown into the arms of immature men, all because we are considered worth less than a male.
Why can't we
Be accepted into companies for our own abilities and not because of our gender to fulfill diversity regulations. Even inheritance is strongly biased against women. Is that how we're supposed to be perceived? Someone not even deserving of basic equality?
We shouldn't have to fight for our rights as women. They should be guaranteed.
Mama told me all men are created equal. Was that a lie? What happened to society?
Gender inequality beats down on women and drills the idea that we're less into our brains every second we spend outside the comfort of solitude. How is that fair? We are all human. How can you call us different when we are the same?
Why can't I?
Why not us? Why can't we?
Okay, next we have Aditya, Bowen, Advait, and Ane.
Breaking news.
There have been
19,925
fire outbreaks in the Amazon rainforest, and that number is going to steadily increase unless we do something.
Every year, 3.5 to 7 billion trees are cut down.
Yet only 1.6 billion get replanted per year.
The Amazon rainforest alone produces 20% of the world's oxygen. With humanity's current rate of chopping down 1.5 acres of forest every second,
They'll be gone within a century.
Deforestation in the Amazon will result in
28,000
different species to go extinct.
this is our world, our only one. Breaking news. In 2013, air pollution in China reached 50 times the acceptable level of particles in the air. Pollution dumps out more than
37 billion
tons
tons
of carbon dioxide, killing more than
4
4
million
million
people.
people a year.
And this needs to stop.
This just in, air pollution in India has reached to such an extent that breathing in Delhi air is equivalent to smoking 50 cigarettes a day.
And almost 50% of that pollution is caused by vehicular activity.
Did you know that the average car pumps out 6 tons of carbon dioxide every year?
That weighs 3 times as much as your car. Has it come to such an extent that we are being ended by our own actions?
This is our world, our only one.
Breaking news. On April 20th, 2010, 4.9 million barrels of oil were spilled into the Gulf of Mexico.
The oil spill covered almost 68,000 square miles.
Affecting nearly everything living in and around the ocean.
From seabirds to fish, from corals to turtles, 115,000 animals were killed by this disaster. And even after 9 years, the oil is still present within the Gulf. And that's not the worst thing in our oceans.
Millions of tons of plastics are being dumped into the world's oceans every day.
Plastic takes hundreds of years to break down, and even then, its journey doesn't end.
They break down into smaller pieces, called microplastics. And when sea creatures mistake them for food and eat them, the plastic chokes them and rips through their stomachs.
40% of America's lakes are so polluted, no living creature can survive in it.
We cannot let humanity destroy itself.
This is our world, our only one. Breaking news. Climate activist Greta Thunberg makes a speech in front of many of the world's leaders.
Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can think about is lying. And fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
I
Cannot do anything about it. I will die before it affects me.
You see, not enough people care about our world. How many people do you actually see putting their cigarettes in the trash?
Or plastic in the cycle. No one cares these days because all they come up with are lame excuses like billions of people litter. Why can't I?
Or why should I care about the world?
Or it's not my problem.
It
is essential that we protect our world in the hopes that we survive.
We only have one chance.
Humanity cannot survive without the earth.
This
is
Our
world,
our only one.
Okay. And our final group performance for the evening is Sojin, Scott, and Jason.
During the solo performances, decide who's first and second. And the solos? While they're doing the solos. Oh, okay.
We were all normal once.
But look at us now.
I grew up in Seoul, South Korea.
I grew up in the suburbs of Boston.
I grew up in Independence, Missouri.
I was diagnosed with severe depression and was prescribed antidepressants.
I lived off of $10 a week for most of my life.
I attended a decent school and lived with my mom and sisters.
But one day my mother found a job in America.
I continued my education in high school.
My depression started fading away and I could finally go back to school.
But
We all made a mistake.
I walked down the wrong alleyway.
I couldn't stop taking my prescriptions.
I chose the wrong friends.
We told ourselves we could stop if we wanted to,
It will just be one time.
I can talk them out of it.
but we couldn't stop ourselves.
We had a bright future, where success was brought to a halt.
How could this happen to us?
We were good kids.
Our families were counting on us.
But one bad decision ended up ruining our chances.
We were good kids.
But look at us now. And it wasn't just us.
There were over 19,000 deaths from drug abuse in 2018.
They didn't listen to the advice that we did.
I called the drug hotline and I got help.
I talked to my family, they helped me stop.
I decided to face my depression on my own and throw away my drugs. we decided to take control of our lives.
I got a good job.
I got accepted into a good college.
I met the love of my life.
And look at us
now.
Now we have 3 solo performers, and then we will take about a 2-minute break, and we'll announce our winners of our poetry slam. The solo performers are not eligible for winning the poetry slam. Okay, our first solo performer is Manya.
You buy a Coke from the store. It's the only one you can afford. Mother says just one, no more. Slowly chipping away at the chocolate core, you drink in the black old reservoir, while the ice cream melts away, ruining the natural delicacy it was made for. Oh, you're running out of time. It's slipping, dripping past your fingers onto the sweltering summer ground, like steam evaporating from lakes all around the world. A mirage of dwindling beauty, gone forever. It's really short.
Okay, that's great.
I loved it. I love ice cream. Our next solo performer is Andy.
That girl in the library. Her long sleeves cover her arms, curled into a book like it's her only lifeline, because the words she reads are better than real life. That boy in the gym, running on the treadmill, sweat pouring down his face, because with the thumping of his feet, he loses himself in the rhythm. You see what you want to see. A girl who dreams, a boy who wants to be fit, but what you don't see can kill them. That girl in the library, her long sleeves cover the scars that crisscross her veins, the only signs of her turmoil. That boy in the gym, running to burn the calories, because he ate 1 slice of pizza at lunch, and even that was too much for the voice in his head. They suffer and struggle, and still you are blind. You don't notice them until it's too late. Look for the signs, help them, hand them a torch and light their way out. That girl in the library, her long sleeves pushed back, her scars on display, because she got help and she's pushing through her turmoil. That boy in the gym, running on the track, not caring how far he goes or how many calories he burned, because he's fighting against the voice in his head. They made it through the dark, and now they bask in the sunlight, getting ready to help those that are still in the night.
And our final solo performer is Amy.
This is not okay. I should not be put into this position. I should not have to feel so scared and so worried all the time. I should not have to live in a world where this is acceptable. I should not have to live in a world where femicide is a normality. I should not have to live in a world where women are afraid to walk outside at night. A world where we are advised to stay indoors or with a group at all times. I should not have to live in a world where I'm told to talk less, be quieter, dress modestly, never disagree, never stand out, just to be safer. I should not have to live in a world where women have to hold their keys in their hands if they walk fast but not fast enough to attract attention. I should not have to live in a world where I'm told what to do in order to avoid being raped, assaulted, groped, or murdered. I should not have to live in a world where by telling me these things, you're really telling me to make sure it happens to someone else. I should not have to live in a world where the kids sitting next to me in class make rape jokes because they do not understand the gravity of the situation. I should not have to live in a world where when high school students rape female peers, news broadcasters mourn their futures of sports or education, yet they do not acknowledge the graveyard going inside the body of that young girl. I should not have to live in a world where rape cases is considered less horrid because of what the victim was wearing, or whether she was drunk or lonely at night. I should not have to live in a world where a victim is blamed for the actions of the guilty. I should not have to live in a world where women who have an abortion can get up to 20 times as much jail time as her rapist. I should not have to live in a world where I should not have to live in a world where people refuse to acknowledge that no means no. I should not have to live in a world where women are afraid, where women have to fear for their lives each night. I should not have to live in a world where women are afraid to say no because we know there's a great chance that we won't make it out alive. I should not have to live in a world where police are still surprised when a star college student turns up dead after alerting the police about her abusive ex 6 times in the week leading up to her murder. I should not have to live in a world where 500 pairs of shoes were hung on the walls of Istanbul as a memorial to those women who have been killed by their husbands, boyfriends, ex-boyfriends, friends, or neighbors so far this year. I should not have to live in a world where that memorial is necessary. I should not have to live in a world where that number is tripled in the US, approximately 4 women a day. I should not have to live in a world where a significant portion of the population seems to believe that I exist for someone else's pleasure. I should not have to live in a world where my body is regulated by a group of men sitting on high chairs making up laws. I should not have to live in a world where my choice on how I want to live my life doesn't matter. I should not have to live in a world where I'm shamed for every action, every decision, every movement that I make. I should not have to live in a world where I'm seen as weak or less capable because I like the color pink, or dresses, or wearing shoes, or makeup. I should not have to live in a world where since the age of 5 I'm condemned for being too girly or too much of a tomboy. I should not have to live in a world where thousands of women go through this. I should not have to live in a world where a 13-year-old girl has to worry and prepare for all of this. I should not have to live in a world where this poem is necessary.
So right now you may be asking yourselves, do I really know what my child thinks about this world? This may have been eye-opening for some of you, but I did not filter them. I let them choose what was most important to them and speak to it. Now, if you'll give us just 1 minute, the judge and I are going to go into the hall and make a very difficult decision. Okay, just 1 minute. if I call your group, come down to receive your prize, okay? Ready? Okay, we'll start with third place. In third place, we have Amy and Manya. Whoops, microphone. In second place, Gavin, Arjun, Ashish, and Aiden. And we have a tie for first place. We couldn't choose. They're both so good. The tie is between Aditya, Bowen, Agbe, and Renee, and Elaine and Andy. I am so proud of these kids, as I know you are. Let's give one last round of applause, then you can go home. Thank you so much for coming tonight.